lovelies, today I'm going to show you how to make the best healthy gluten-free and vegan pizza in two ways. The first is with avocado and caramelized onions, and then the second is Mediterranean style with homemade pesto. Yes, that's a lot of ingredients we're going to be using. Don't worry though, it's actually rather easy once you get into it. Let's get started with the base. You're going to be needing 1 cup of buckwheat flour, 2 cups of chickpea flour, 3 cups water and 1 teaspoon each of garlic salt, basil and oregano. For the Mediterranean pizza, you're going to use some pizza sauce, roasted peppers, sun-dried tomatoes, olives, courgette, peppers, homemade pesto and nutritional yeast. Then for the caramelized onion pizza, you're going to be needing some pizza sauce, roasted peppers and onion, avocado, courgettes, peppers, mustard and nutritional yeast. Starting everything off, I'm just going to chuck in our chickpea flour. Make sure that this is sifted before, and then in goes the buckwheat flour. And then chuck in your herbs and spices and give this a really good whisk together because it's very important that these are well combined. You don't really want any lumps in your pizza base now, do you? And that's basically all there is to it. We just have one more step. Oh yeah, a tablespoon of olive oil, there we go. Helps it stick together. Then in goes with cup 1, cup 2 and cup 3 of water. Then you're going to try and get this to be a bit more of a consistency of a pancake batter. You just keep whisking and making sure there's no lumps at all. And you just keep whisking. And keep going. Oh, there we go. The consistency is now reached. I know that this looks rather wet, but don't worry, trust me, these are very absorbent flours, it's going to work out. Using that same scoop that we used to measure out our cups of water, we're just going to pop this onto 2 lined baking trays. You don't need to be too fussy about making sure that this is perfect at this point because we will be smoothing it out. Just try and get an even balance between both of the trays. Now is the time that I like to use my whisk again. I find that this just evenly distributes the batter across the entire base because I want to have a big pizza to get as many veggies on there as possible and as many meals out of this as possible. Here's a good opportunity to preheat your oven to 190 degrees centigrade and then you just keep on flattening those out. It can be sticky work, but I still find that this is the best method. Just try and make sure it's even across the whole base. And then you chuck it on into your fan bake oven at 190 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. Just keep an eye on it because everyone's oven is slightly different on this. Now you're onto your toppings. So starting off with the caramelized onions because that's the part that takes the longest for sure. You just want to slice this as thinly as possible. Don't worry about getting perfect rounds. And then you chuck it on into a little saucepan with about a tablespoon of olive oil or coconut oil, whichever is your preference. Put that on a low heat for about 15 to 20 minutes. I like to use a little plastic spatula for this, by the way. I find it gets everything right off the bottom of that with much more ease. Then we're on to chopping up our vegetables, starting off with a courgette and cutting that into little quarters. Then moving on to peppers, I like to use a lot of peppers with my pizza, as you can see, all 3 colours. And then slice the opposite way that logic tells you. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know this trick. Makes it so much easier to cut them. And I personally like to cut these into bite-sized pieces because nothing annoys me more than having like a big old ring of pepper because that's really awkward to eat. Then onto our jarred peppers, which are all charred. You just cut this into tiny little pieces, the same as what you did with the other ones, and these are much easier to cut as well because they've obviously been marinated. Now the olives. Yes, you're cutting all of these in half. I know it seems finicky, but it's worth it. It's been about 15 to 20 minutes now for this, and that means that my bases are done. And just looking in on those caramelized onions, they're looking pretty good. I'm still going to keep them cooking for as long as possible whilst I chop up the rest. This is our sun-dried tomatoes. Just cutting these into bite-sized pieces again, actually smaller than that because it can be a little bit overpowering flavour-wise. I did add in some jalapenos to my pizza, but this is completely optional. I just wanted to give something different a try. But here's the main event. Oh, look at the avocado. Oh, that's such a perfect one. Just scoop that on out. And then basically all we're going to do is just hack away at it with a spoon and then mash it up to get a really nice smooth thin consistency. This avocado was a little bit hard, so when I added in the salt and pepper, I also added in a little trick, which is a splash of white vinegar. And this actually really helps to soften it all up. You just give that a nice good mix. And now we have our bases a little bit cooler. I just use a pre-bought sauce for this because I'm lazy. You can make your own of course, but the ingredients in this one are actually just completely non-offensive, so I don't mind. You just smooth it out using a little spatula. Makes your life a lot easier, but the thing is, I love a saucy pizza, so I quite like to make sure that everything's a nice even coating. If you haven't noticed, a little bit obsessive compulsive on this. And then you start with your toppings. I like to start off with the courgettes. And try and make sure that each piece that you're going to cut is going to get sort of equal distribution of veggies. And then on go the soft charred peppers, which we had in a jar. Just put an even amounts on both of those. And then on go the raw one that we just cut up. I like to put more of this on the Mediterranean pizza for obvious reasons. And already it's shaping up to be a beautiful, colourful concoction. And now we're onto the sun-dried tomatoes. Just sort of sprinkling it over. Now with the olives, again, I try and make sure that I get the halves instead of wholes, because otherwise it's a little bit overpowering. Now, as you can see, I'm sort of noodling, if that's even a word for the caramelized onions. I'm just kind of popping it sort of elegantly, not really, over our caramelized onion pizza at the back there. I'm taking about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard and I'm sort of just dotting that around that pizza as well. That little bit of extra tang. Now to the homemade pesto. Just again drizzling that all over our Mediterranean pizza, because I love this homemade pesto and it's so easy to make. Now with our avocado, just dolloping that again as evenly as possible over that pizza. And then for good measure, I got some pine nuts, which I found luckily in the cupboard. Putting that over our Mediterranean one, and then on goes some nutritional yeast. Putting that back in the oven at 190 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes, make sure those toppings are nicely cooked. And voila! Magic has occurred! Oh, these smell so good. I mean, look at that. Oh, it's just so delicious. Honestly guys, I can't even explain how good this is. And it's really easy, as you could see before. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. See you again soon.